So we're back to thinking about inverse functions. So remember that our main rule here is that our inputs and outputs switch. So our inputs and outputs switch, and that has a lot of consequences. The first consequence is that the domain and range switch. Right, so if you have the domain, right, the domain of f of x is the range of f inverse of x, and we'll do a concrete example of that in a moment. Right, so the inputs and outputs switch. Right, so let's think about another consequence of this, is that if f of x is given as a table, so it's given as a table, let's just draw a really quick one here, f of x, so let's do 3, 6, 9, 10, pi, 18, 2, 0, right? This is a table. If I wanted to find the inverse, right, my inputs and my outputs switch, which means that my new inputs, right, are just my old outputs. So this line just becomes this. So it's going to be pi, 18, 2, and 0. And then my outputs for f inverse of x, right, the opposite of f, is just my old set of inputs, because my outputs and my inputs switch. So the outputs here will be 3, 6, 9, and 10. Right? And so if I wanted to find f inverse of 6a, f inverse of 6, that's not an input here, so it's going to be undefined. But if I wanted to find f inverse of 2, right, that would just be 9. Right? And note here, this is a really important consequence. If I find f inverse of f of, let's go 3, right? Well, f of 3 is pi, so it's just f inverse of pi. Well, pi gives you 3, so that's just 3. And this is a pattern with undoing something, right? If you have bare feet, you put on your shoes, you take off your shoes, you're back to having bare feet. Same thing with functions. If you do a function, you do the opposite of that function, even before computing this, you should be able to say, well, I'm going to be back at the beginning. Right? This is a huge consequence. And the way we write that in math is that f inverse of f of x should equal x. And we also say that if we do it the other way, f of f inverse of x should also equal x. And these are also really important. These days, right, technically speaking, this is one way people define the inverse. They define the inverse this way, by saying it's some function where when you compose with a function, you get the input. And if you start with what you want to compose with and compose again, you also get the input. Right? When you compose and get the input, that's one way of saying you found the inverse of something. Right? Let's pause there again. Oh.